Episode 5 of the CrownCast with our guy, a brand ambassador now. First time we've done the brand ambassador thing on the CrownCast with Novice Clothing Company. It's Dom LeMorta, it's Chris Honorato, and right down below me is Garrett Bernardo, one of the owners of Novice Clothing Company. Dom, man, it's great to see you, dude. How are you?
Great to see you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on.
You're rocking some of the gear right there, man. Different basketball academy. I know you've got the AAU circuit going that Novice supports, and now just a few months as a brand ambassador. What does that, for people watching, what does that mean?
It's an awesome opportunity that these guys have presented me with, and I really love what they have going on here at Novice, and just all their stuff that they have, in terms of clothing and stuff like that has been something that I love to wear. It's so comfortable, and obviously you throw all these awesome patterns and stuff they got going on. It just kind of fit perfectly with me and my outlook on things, and I love the guys over here and the way they treat me. So it's just been awesome altogether.
Garrett, we have talked about what makes the right novice athlete partnership. Ambassador fits right in the same lane, right? I mean, I know we're using different terminology here, but
right.
Why is the partnership and the relationship with somebody like Dom right for this company?
Yeah, I think just right out the gate with Dom, he is a customer of ours. We started out the relationship getting to work together with his AAU basketball program. And we had the opportunity to outfit him with uniforms and apparel. So he took a shot on us. And thankfully we turned out putting together some sweet uniforms with this cool lightning pattern, and really kind of taking his inspiration, being able to put some sweet apparel out there. But the cool thing is that our relationship started through the apparel itself. And then getting to know Dom as a person and seeing what he's doing as a coach and all the initiatives that he's engaged in. Really, it was just an exciting new opportunity for us to get Novice out there and have a brand ambassador and a guy like Dom that he's, not only is he working with young athletes out there, he's working with athletes at the highest level, at the professional level. And we kind of see everything he's doing in the basketball world very in line with what we're trying to do as a brand, not just appealing to the top of the, line, but also like being right there with the young athletes out there that are aspiring to be great or be, the next rising star. So, and then, being a coach, Dom's also coaching at the high school level. The influence that individuals have, coaches have on young kids is maybe the most impactful aside from your own parents. So we feel like coaches themselves have a great opportunity to make an impact. So we want to be right there with them, doing our part to support them.
Dom's got his different basketball academy. He works with Dags basketball. You mentioned the high school stuff with Niskayuna as an assistant coach. First year, having done that, was a star player at Scotia-Glenville, state title, federation title, 3 sectional championships. I think I'm right on that, Dom. Can you outdress your former high school coach, though, Jimate? I saw you rocking the turtleneck on the sidelines.
I had a couple people tell me I was the best dressed man in Section 2 this year. So I kind of
huge.
I took the title and ran with it. So people saw me and they're like, what is this guy wearing? It's just, I got to dress to impress in my first year. And it's only going to get worse if staff next year. So I got to compete at something. I'm not on the court, but I'm definitely going to do my part to stand out in some way.
All right, people who are watching, they may just be listening on Apple, Amazon, or Spotify, but if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, left sleeve there, Dom, I think has your logo, right? The D? It is.
I'm looking here through the computer screen. It's messing me up. This is my Wordmark logo. We got the lightning bolt, which is specific to the different basketball academy, which we're going to start using a little bit more. So definitely excited with what we got to come here. We're just building what I started 2 years ago, right out of college, and it's grown into something bigger than I could have imagined this quick. And it's awesome to be able to impact so many people in the basketball world, and we're going to see where it goes. I'm really excited to be able to do something and impact people like I am.
Why did you go ahead, G? You got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one thing I did want to point out and touch on is maybe the first time that we met Dom. He came in with Steve D'Agostino from Dags Basketball, and we were just sitting down talking about apparel, kind of what Novus does, and immediately Dom started to tell us a little bit about what he's doing with different basketball, and it was kind of there that I could see the passion that Dom has and just the energy and drive. And he was really excited about the opportunity to get his own spin on the apparel and design wise. And then even talking further into, the product itself, just caring about the details and just how it felt or fit the players or, all of that kind of stuff was just like an early indication that this is a guy that cares a little bit more than the average Joe. And I really appreciate people with that kind of passion. And that's like who we want to surround ourselves with. So now to see the program continuing to grow, it makes sense. Just knowing the work ethic that Dom has and everything he puts into it. So I just want to make that point here in the podcast. Like for anyone out there that wants to start something, Dom was a very successful high school collegiate athlete, but then had this passion to do something with his God-given abilities. And now he's executing. And like, that's how our paths kind of crossed. He was doing things at a high level in his own field. And that, we're trying to do the same here at Novus. So it's been like, it's made for a great partnership.
All right, Dom, before we get into kind of exactly the coaching and training you're doing, you were 1 point short of an Alfred program high. How many points did you score and who'd you score them against?
So it was the first round of the NCAA tournament my senior year. We played Ramapo, who was a team that was actually in the Final Four the year before. I ended up with 45 points. It was a funny story because, most people would say, like I knew I was really, really playing well. And I did, but I didn't know how many points I scored because for me, I've always been someone that is team centered. So if it takes me scoring that many points to win, I'm going to do it. If I need to take a back burner and someone else is hot, I do it. But long story short, obviously I was filling it up and having a really good game and got to the bench with about 3 minutes left after we knew that we kind of secured the win. And my assistant coach looked over to me and he said, "You had 45." And I looked at him and I said, "Did I really? Like I had that many points?" He was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, I wish you would have told me because I was 5 away from 50. I would have went for it." So it's kind of funny. But at that point, it was kind of just, like icing on the cake, winning Alfred's first NCAA tournament game in over 20 plus years.
Wow.
I wasn't worried about how many points I had. I was just, concerned about us moving on to the next round. And for me, ultimately, it was a goal of mine getting there. My first year, I had just always been in that gym and worked out so much. And, that was the reason I was there is I wanted to kind of bring a championship to a school that hadn't seen some success in a little while. And I just took it and embraced it. And I just worked for 4 straight years. And I never really worried about, like, was I playing? Was I not playing? It was just something where I was like, you know what? This is my goal. And if it takes me 4 years to get there, it takes me 4 years to get there. So got to that first round game and things were just clicking and ended up with 45. And we won our first NCAA tournament game. I think it was in 20 plus years. So it was
wow
feeling.
And you played with a high school buddy on that team, Scott Stapera. How many assists did he have that night for you? Do you know?
I can't tell you the number, but that was my right hand.
He'll claim all of them, right? He'll say every single one.
That's right. That was my right hand man. That was kind of, why I went there is he actually committed there first. I ended up at Cortland first and then kind of things kind of didn't work out at first. And then he kind of called me. He said, listen, we got to get you here. And we got there. And then obviously the rest is history. Playing with him has been a comfort for me, obviously playing with him in high school and doing what we did. I just knew I had a guy that had the same mindset as me and then had my best interests in mind. So it was a no-brainer for me. And I'm very grateful to be able to spend, I got to spend almost 10 plus years playing basketball with somebody I consider a best friend.
Well, and Garrett, you want to talk about claiming your crown? Dom had 35 in the game that clinched the Empire 8 regular season title for Alfred when they knocked off. Who'd you guys beat? Was that Naz you beat?
So the game we played in the semifinal was Stevens, but we played Nazareth in the regular season championship at home. I had 31 in that game.
Wow.
Had a game. The semifinal game was one of those games where I could see the future in sight, where I kind of got nervous. I'm like, you know what, we're finally here. I got a chance to do what I've always wanted to do, and then the nerves kind of set in. So I had an off game. I still had 14 or 15 points, but for me at that point, I had a rough game. And then we played St. John Fisher, who's actually a very well recognized program across the country, usually nationally ranked. We played them. Those were like our rivals in that conference, and we beat them at home in front of our home crowd. And then, like Chris said, I had 35 in that game, and it was kind of just one of those things. I made my first shot, and the basket looked like it was 3 times the size that it usually is.
Love that, yeah.
It was one of those things. We were in front of the home crowd. My adrenaline was going, and then we took it home and then moved on to the NCAA tournament. So I had a crazy little run in that couple weeks for sure.
Who do you feel like you style your game after, or you styled your game after?
That's a tough question. My favorite player will always and forever be Kobe Bryant. That's everybody that does know me that's kind of where I got inspiration with this brand that I did, with his Mamba mentality. It's kind of like my own version of that. And
wow.
Kobe's mentality has been something that I've always paid attention to for so long. And it's not just the way he plays per se, but just the way he approaches life every single day, and the way he did approach life was just something that I loved. He was a guy that just made no excuses. There was always you just got to find a way. It doesn't matter what's going on, whether you're struggling or outside. You just got to always keep the main thing. And that's always what I've kind of done, is use Kobe as not only like my favorite basketball player, but an inspiration. In terms of guys that I style my game after, I was just such a basketball junkie and still am to this day, as everybody knows. And I would just try to pull from different players here and there, and watch highlights and just see different things that they added to their game. Kobe obviously was one of those guys, but
right.
Guys like LeBron, guys like Devin Booker, who I like a lot. Obviously the Splash Brothers in Golden State, those guys changed the game, and I was always a good shooter, so I just try and pull pieces and combine them and put it into my own game when I play.
Wow. Were you a 3?
I was like a 3. I was in high school. I was like a wing, so we were like a 2 or 3. Shot the ball.
Nice.
Really, and as my game kind of grew in college, and I added some weight on, I became like a 3, a guy that was kind of a little bigger than the normal 3 in my league. So that's why I kind of succeeded so well. Kind of combined with my skill and my talent. So that's what really set me over the top in that league.
Wow. As an Ithaca grad, the best thing you could have done was leave Cortland. But even through joking on that level, Dom, your story is one that will resonate with a lot of athletes, right? Like nothing just goes perfectly all the time. So between Cortland and Hudson Valley and then getting to Alfred, where your buddy Scotty Stapera kind of helps you get there, what would you tell athletes who hit a bump in the road and maybe they feel that kind of moment of doubt or uncertainty that they're going to be cut out to do what they want?
Well, I can tell everybody that listens to this, and every athlete, you're going to hit it eventually at some point in your career. Whether you're at your young stage in your career, or you get into high school or in college, it's going to come. And it's just about, for me, I tell all these guys, and I've had a couple athletes actually locally reach out to me and kind of asked me like I'm going through a struggle, because I'm very open about helping people out with that type of stuff, because I went through it not only with my mental health, but just being an athlete and you don't play sometimes and things don't go how you want them to. And I just tell them, I send the same message to every athlete, and that's just, you have to ask yourself how much you love the game. And for me, that was getting to college, in those first years after coming off of, one of the best runs in New York State history. I played every minute of every game almost. So I never thought about coming out. It was just, how am I going to move on to the next play? And that was my mindset. So being a freshman in college and sometimes not seeing the floor, you get frustrated at times because you know what you're capable of, but you have to also understand that there is players out there that are just as hungry as you are. So I kind of took that and embraced it and just said, you know what, like, I'm going to be the hardest worker, not only, at the school and in the league, but my mindset was in the country, and I didn't care what division it was, because I've come home in the summer and trained with guys that are at the highest level. And, all those guys respect me because I always held my own and I didn't back down from guys like that. And I knew I could play with them.
Right.
So when I got there, it was just one of those things where, I'm going to embrace this and I'm going to outwork everybody in the country. And I still, to this day, nobody could really see what I did, but those people who know, they know what I put in. People were literally asking me, do you ever go to class? Do you go to school? Or is this, are you here on a full basketball major? So I used to tell people used to ask me, what's your major? And I would say, you know what? It's basketball, to be honest with you. And a lot of people would probably get mad at me for saying that because, you say things like school comes first, and school was definitely important, but I knew what I was going to do my whole life, and that's be involved with basketball. So I put my full effort into what I knew I loved, and I did it nonstop all the time. And that's what kind of set me apart from everybody, is just I loved it and I'm obsessed with it. I wake up every day and I think about it. I'm checking scores, I'm watching highlights, I'm learning new things. And just because it's brought me so much joy, even through the highs and lows, it's brought me so much joy that it's going through those hard times and those tough times. It's so worth it because it teaches you not only stuff in sports, but for me now that I'm in the business world and doing things like I'm doing, it just teaches you so many life lessons.
Right. Garrett, before, I know you have a question about the impact that Dom makes on the young lives. I just want to give people some perspective about who Dom has shared the court with and who he has helped train as well. Dom, you fill in some of the gaps here too. Let's shout them out. You've been in the gym with Kevin Herter. You've been in the gym with Andre Jackson Jr., a star at UConn. You've been in the gym with a guy like Jalen Pickett, who's been phenomenal for Penn State after transferring from Siena. You obviously played with Joe Cremo, but you've helped him work on his game as well, now playing really well overseas after being part of the G League. Fill in some of the gaps here for people who are listening or watching in terms of the talent that has come through that gym in Schenectady.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've had a number of players come into that small gym in Schenectady. There's a bunch of those guys you just mentioned. Guys like local guys, people that would know. One of my favorite people to work with and players is Jordan King, who goes to East Tennessee State, a guy that kind of shares my same mindset. Is just a very, very hard worker, smaller guard who he loves the game. He loves working on it and stuff like that. So Jordan, another kid that just loves the game is Marcus Jackson, who goes to UAlbany, Andre's little brother. Another kid that I love working with, a guy that just loves the game and wants to get better all the time. A bunch of local talent, obviously, in the high school game. Just a couple of names. You name guys like Kalen Leak from CBA, Zach Matulu from Shaker, J2 Vogel, who's going to be a great player up and coming. He's an 8th grader on varsity. There's a bunch of kids around here that have come through the gym. It's kind of like the central location for all basketball players in the area to come through and work on their game. And this past summer, I was actually out in Los Angeles with a guy named Drew Hanlon. For those of you that don't know who Drew Hanlon is, Drew Hanlon's probably one of the top trainers in the industry, if not the top guy. He works with guys like Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, trying to think of some of his other clients here, Myers Leonard, just a bunch of high-level guys. Tyler Hero from the Miami Heat. He's very well respected in the basketball world. So throughout the summer, this past summer, I was out there for about 4 days. And you get to go through an experience with him to be able to go into the gym and kind of see what his day-to-day process is. And he has guys come in nonstop all day because LA obviously is a location that all those guys like to go to in the off season. So In the 3 days I was there, I've been telling this to people, and they're kind of just like, their eyes are open. I got to see Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Chet Holmgren, I just remembered Jason Tatum, Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, Kyrie Irving, and then the list goes on and on. I got to see these guys play in a pickup run, and then I got to see them kind of train up close, and it was an unbelievable experience to be able to see these guys. And I also got to be involved with a couple of the workouts. I worked with a guy who was a first-time All-Star this year, Tyrese Halliburton, who plays on the Sixers. So I got to see their day-to-day process and the detail that they put in on a daily basis, and it was just like an eye-opening experience because obviously, we have the talent like Kevin and Andre and those guys in our area, but then you get to branch out and go across the country and see, what else goes on, and you get to that really, really high level where you're involved with the All-Stars, and it's just unbelievable the amount of work they put on a daily basis. They show up, they put their hard hat on, and it's just they grind every single day. It's a lifestyle for them. So to be able to be involved with a guy like that and see the detail that NBA All-Stars put in, it was awesome to be able to take it and come back and put it into the training sessions with those guys too.
And meanwhile, I'm like, how many episodes of season 3 of Jack Ryan do you think I could rip through in one day? That's a lot of times where my mentality is. Yeah. That's my grind.
That's amazing. Just hearing you have the experience of going out training, learning from trainers at the top level, and then getting to come back here with the younger athletes or, even the high school, college athletes. Are you inspired to, be like an NBA trainer someday? Like, do you look at the trainer you mentioned as I'd like to be there, or do you think with everything you have going with different basketball, is it more geared toward like, I want to take that and apply it here?
Well, my goal is to impact as many people as possible. And that comes from, like we mentioned before, Kobe Bryant is a guy like I take a lot of inspiration for. That was the one thing that when he passed away that I really noticed was the way that he kind of like, it just turned the world around. Like there were so many people that he impacted that don't even watch sports.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of just looked at that and said, if I can make, like 5% of what he did, or I just want to impact as many people as possible. If it's in the NBA, it's in the NBA. If it's in Division I of college, Division II, Division III, I just want to be able to be somebody for, someone that wants to grow as not only a basketball player, but as a person.
That's awesome.
That's just the person. I had a guy that I grew up with who recently passed away. His name was Glenn Stapira. And that's Scotty's father to kind of put 2 and 2 together, the kid that I played with in high school and college. He was an old school guy, and he kind of took me under his wing full time in like 9th grade. And that's where I really started to like love the game. And it was every single day. And he kind of just took his time and didn't have to pay him. He would show up and open the gym up if we wanted to be there. And he taught me not only basketball wise, everything I know now, but he just taught me so many life lessons. A guy that just said like, you're sick and you have a cough and you're not going to show up to practice. Why? Let me ask you why. Are you not able to practice? Are you not able to come? And, you get to certain kids like, Coach, what do you want me to do? He's like, I don't care. He's like, what do you want to do with the game? Do you want to be really good at it, or do you want to kind of be mediocre? And then that's when it kind of clicked in my head where I'm like, this is the level that I want to be at. This is what I aspire to be. I want to be able to be at the highest level where I'm on top of everybody else and be different from everybody else's, which is where I kind of came up with the brand name. So that's kind of where I get my inspiration from. He's a guy that kind of just took his time and dedicated it to us in Scotia. And he's just taught us so much stuff. So if I can be any type of inspiration like that to people, and I can do it across the country and hopefully the world someday, wherever it goes, I'm good with.
That's awesome. I love it. I don't think there could be a better answer to that question. So
hit him up on Instagram, Dom.LeMorta. It is a different basketball academy as well. Trains all kinds of ages and skill levels. He's ready to show you what he has learned, as he said, all the way across the country in LA from the top trainer in the game. Dom, man, I don't know. The partnership couldn't be any better, right? Gee, I mean, this brand ambassador program that you guys are slowly developing, making sure you kind of pick the right people to rep that novice brand. Dom is obviously a great guy to really kind of get it going.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Dom, for the time. Loved just getting to hear your story, and we know it's going to impact a lot of lives with people listening in. So thanks again.
Guys, very grateful for the opportunity and looking forward to what's to come for sure. Any athletes that are watching this, make sure you guys hop on the novice wave because there's big things happening over here.
Let's go. We love it.